This video is brought to you by Smart Money Parenting. Educate your kids about money. More on them at the end of this video. How to conduct a proper interview. You may be an aspiring journalist, podcaster, or a person who wants to get answers from someone. Interviewing is an often overlooked skill because it's not something they teach you. People ask questions every day, but they're often left unsatisfied because it's just not interesting. So in this video, let's explore 5 ways you can properly conduct an engaging and entertaining interview. Number 1, prepare a lot of questions. You may have a finite amount of time to interview someone. Sometimes the interview can go unfiltered, or it can be edited down to the approached time frame. Whatever the case, you can't just wing it. That's not how the professionals do it, and that's not how you should do it either. Be prepared to ask a lot of questions, write them down, and take note of them when asking the questions. You want to have enough for 2 interviews, meaning you need to come up with enough questions to fill 2 complete interviews. Of course, you won't get through all of them, but you want to be prepared. What if your interviewee answers a question really quickly or gives a simple answer? Even worse, what if they refuse to answer the question? You want to have enough stored in your note card to move on. That's how you keep the interview going. Number 2, ask open-ended questions. No one is going to watch or listen to an interview if all the answers are yes or no. A computer can do a better job responding to those types of questions. It's best to prepare your questions in an open-ended manner so to leave space to dig deeper with impromptu follow-ups from you. Great interviews, even for hour-long podcasts, dive into maybe 5 to 7 questions, and then they branch out into follow-up after follow-up. The interviewee is all too happy to answer follow-ups if the question is open-ended enough. For example, you may ask your interviewee, "What led you to designing that computer? Was there any hint of inspiration from your childhood?" These double questions make assumptions, which the interviewee can refute or accept and then follow up with more details. You can keep repeating follow-up questions, and a conversation ensues instead of what traditionally is an interview. You want a back and forth with your interviewee. Number 3, it's not about your interviewee or even you. It's about your audience. Remember, your interview is not about what you think or feel, and it's not even about what your guest thinks or feels. Of course, you want to make them feel comfortable and welcomed, but the priority in a good interview is how the audience thinks and feels when they watch or listen to your interview. Your audience is the reason you started that podcast in the first place. Your audience is what brings in advertisers and revenue. They are the backbone of your entire operation, and they must be satisfied. They are your customer, and you need to give the people what they want. Always consider how your audience will react to potential questions or potential guests. Do they like controversy, hard-hitting questions, or do they like friendly banter back and forth? As you grow and establish yourself with an audience, you'll better understand what they are like, what's popular, and what you should avoid doing. Number 4, mix up your questions between serious and lighthearted ones. Whatever interview style you do, it's good to mix up your questions depending on the feel of your guest. If things are moving in a serious direction, continue with the seriousness, and vice versa if it's a playful topic. But during the course of any interview, you need a roller coaster of emotion to get your audience and your guest engaged. Serious questions take its toll on everybody mentally, so lighthearted questions can lighten the mood and take the tension off you and your guest. The same can be said with a purely lighthearted interview. If things are too lighthearted, your main objective as an interviewer might not be accomplished, so a more serious tone may be needed to be added. This is based on feel and how your interview is going. But usually you can start and end the interview on a lighthearted note and then have the bulk of the interview be serious. Determine who your guest is and what the underlying topic is about before approaching your interview style. And number 5, do your research on your guest. The most important thing to consider, you need to know who you're interviewing. That means do some light research. Even if they're unknown in some way, have an informal meeting with them before the interview just to gauge their interests and let them know how you interview. It's always nice to plan things ahead so there's some structure in your interview. But if they have a book out or if there's someone famous with a Wikipedia page, it's always smart to read up on them. Even a quick Google search will help you get an idea of who your guest is. A bad interview is when an interviewer asks their guest something so obvious. The audience is facepalming themselves at such an amateur move. An interviewee, especially one that's famous, gets asked the same questions over and over again. They know how it works. and they also know if you even know who they are. If you interviewed Barack Obama and didn't know anything about him aside from him being president at some point, it would be obvious to him if you asked him a question everyone should know, like, "What's your wife's name?" Of course, that's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. It doesn't look good when you ask a question you should already know and what your audience already knows and should be something obvious. A good interview can repeat questions your guest has answered before, but you can add some smaller details that they aren't often asked. Like, "President Obama, did you have any pets while you lived in Hawaii?" Something not often asked, but something surprisingly refreshing. Then you can follow up on that question. Follow these 5 things and you'll be a better, more engaged interviewer for your guest and for your audience. And as always, take care of your money. This episode has been brought to you by Smart Money Parenting. I created Smart Money Parenting as a way to teach parents how to educate their kids about money. By starting at an early age using incentives, habits, and money, your kids will grow up to become financially literate adults. We learn almost everything in school, but the one thing most people don't learn is simple budgeting, saving, and even investing. We're brought into a world that revolves around money, yet our kids lack the knowledge and preparation to take on that world. Let's change that. Smart Money Parenting is a course, but also an investment in your kids' future. There are details to the course in the description along with a 20% off discounts code you can use when enrolling. Give your kids the future they deserve.